Cheers, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Variables, your favorite Friday night, late night hash cast. Streaming everywhere at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Happens to be 10 p.m. in Professor's Zone. Happens to be 9 p.m. in Pedro's Zone. Might even be 8 p.m. or like -5 UTC or however they label that stuff. But anyways, we're here every Friday night live, and then you can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, X. It's posted everywhere. So just search Variables. Cheers, guys. Tonight we have your favorite hosts, Pedro, Superior Buds, and Itsumi Fergroli, and our special guest tonight, ProfessorDab. Cheers and welcome. He is health fitness coach, product reviewer, influencer, dabologist, and much more. Let's get into it. How you doing, brother? Welcome.
Man, I'm good, man. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well, man. Props on the setup. We never know what we're gonna get when someone pops onto the show, whether it's gonna be an iPad or an iPhone or
iPhone with the headphone in your ear, one bud.
No headphones at all, just lots of echo.
Yeah, laptop, no headphones at all.
But you came ready tonight, man.
I'm coming in hot, boy. Here we go. We're ready, man.
Good shit.
Dude, I'm going to start it off hard. Can you define the word hash for us?
Ooh, going right to the fucking jugular.
You mean like
no warning?
The specific word, or
what
like
is hash?
What it is to me?
What?
Like,
no.
Sure.
What?
Just
sure.
define hash.
What is hash?
Yeah, when you hear it, what do you think of?
Concentrates.
Where's the line?
Any type of
there doesn't have to be a line, Pedro. Let him speak.
just concentrates in general. Any bud that's been made concentrated, like hash is, what you've derived from the plant. Whether that's like water hash or you're using butane. But when I think hash, I definitely don't think like the old term hash, where like it's like kind of more like plant material.
Like that,
I definitely
like just rub like chars type hash. Or
nah. When I think hash, I'm thinking off the bat, I'll probably just say rosin.
Like that.
If you say hash, yeah, it looks like right.
That's like old school hash.
Nowadays, as like the time's coming up, I would just say rosin. Because if you were to tell me, hey man, I got some hash you want to smoke, about, oh, what kind of rosin are you talking about?
I saw Fergroli over there just shivering just a
little
little bit.
I think where he's getting at is it seems the time, or that the word seems to flow with the time, right? And like currently in the present culture that we operate in, hash is often referencing just that, and I saw yours work too, Pedro, because Pedro doesn't necessarily believe that rosin is in particular hash, right? Like he's
yes and no, no. Well, that's what I was getting at is like, and I think I said this before, the resounding answer that we're receiving from, it seems like the more we compile answers, the more resounding answer is a concentrate, period. Doesn't matter if it's hash, rosin, BHO, it doesn't really matter. It's a concentrate, and like I said, I'm a line drawer. You guys know I'm a line drawer. So as far as like hash, it ends with the trikes. But man, it's when I go to a session and somebody says, hey man, you want to go smoke some hash? I no longer immediately think that we're going to sit down and smoke hash. Like we're going to either sit down, we're going to smoke either hash, rosin, or BHO. And I hate fucking calling it BHO, but that's what we're going to call it.
And honestly, if someone says hash to me, I almost expect that they've got some sort of heady hash, because not everyone's throwing around the word hash. It's like people that love hash are throwing it, and honestly, I probably heard it out of the mouths of people twice my age more often than I have anybody around or young, my age or younger than me. But maybe that's changing now, because again, it's
your area.
That's true too.
Yeah. I think for me with the age, I still draw the line. Hash is old school hash. When I think of hash, that's what I think of. Everything we smoke today, I don't think of as hash. I think of it as hash derived.
Yeah.
But it's not hash.
That's kind of where I'm at.
And that's just because I grew up smoking actual, like, oh, let's go get a brick of hash. Like that meant something to me. But now to your point though, if someone tells me like, hey, let's go smoke some hash, I'm going to ask them what they're talking about.
I agree.
Because it depends on the person. If it's like you said, if it's a heady person, I'm going to expect some good hash. But if it's just, the 20-year-old kid that hangs out with us every now and then. I'm gonna be like, what are you calling hash? Because did you get out your grinder? Like,
Yeah, you got a question.
Was it from the scissors? I mean,
yeah, right.
Who it is you're asking? When you got
So
a question.
on that same note, Professor Dad, what is your favorite hash to smoke? What is your preference?
Now, see, I'm not a rosin snob, and I don't want to, because like nowadays, like the fad is like everybody should be smoking rosin because it's a little bit supposed to be healthier, right? But if you have great BHO, I'm smoking it, right? So it's really hard to say, to be honest. If it tastes great, if it's made from somebody who does great quality work, I'm smoking it. Just like why I supported for Growly for as long as I have, because it's great. You know what I mean? And as long as the medication is made with love and it's been, like if you grew the plant right and you're trying to extract it right, then it's gonna be good. So if it's smoking, if it's getting me high, it's hard to say, man. Like I'm not gonna say rosin over BHO because I continue to get his shit all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he's not the only one. There's a couple, there's very few that are up there on that level, to be honest with you. And when I mean on that level, it's like there's different levels to this shit. And like when it comes to like really pristine quality and getting those really true terpenes to come out in every single dab, you know what I'm saying? And so when you're getting that consistently on a very consistent basis, like, and I mean years. So I just smoked his strain, his lime skunk, from maybe 2 years ago. I was trying to finish off that one jar I just found in the back of the refrigerator.
That's head stash, people.
And that tasted basically almost the same as the one that I just got from him now, right? Maybe a slight degree. It was probably terpier. The one he gave me now is terpier because it was newer, right? The older one was probably a little bit more oxidized, whatever. But the consistency is what you're looking for when you're an actual patient. You're looking for something to affect you the same every time. You know how hard it is to get that same flower, the same smell, the same everything. Like that's not
you got to
easy.
go chase a grower through a dispensary if you're going the legal route, and then you're relying on too many variables. There it is. Hey, so I've got a well, I gotta say, first of all, that Superior Buds, you are no longer the only member on this show currently that has smoked both Fergoli and Pedro.
Oh,
I
you're
thought
right.
that was kind of cool.
Let's go.
Joining the elite group,
I've been
man.
around.
And we'll get more into that, but I also I just wanted to say, like, I got into this, the reason I bring it up off the bat, the whole hash definition, and the reason I've asked it of many of our guests, not everyone, but many of our guests, is just because of the elitism, and I didn't like where it was going with all that. And I think that I know that our lexicon changes over time, and we're constantly, the cultures shift words, and they, pendulum swing, and we redefine words and come up with new words and everything. But I just looked it up in the dictionary one day, guys, and it wasn't just like some 420dictionary.com or something like that. It was like the Oxford or whatever, some internationally recognized dictionary. And I looked up hash, and the definition was something along, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of the resin collected from the cannabis plant. And I liked where Pedro was kind of leaning that direction just, a few moments ago. I liked kind of the way Professor Dab defined it. And that's just what it is to me. It doesn't matter how it's processed, but if you're collecting the resin from the cannabis plant, you now have hash. It just might be in a different form. We might call it blank hash or hash blank, or hash squared to the blank, or whatever, but but it's all hash.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, kind of, because we've all kind of indicated that we not need to ask, but we prefer to ask, is it then kind of a nice thing to do, for us heady guys, I guess. Of course, there's levels to this shit. but to disclose, to like, yo, do you want to go smoke some old school hash? Yo, do you want to go smoke some BHO hash? Yo, do you want to go smoke some hash rosin? Should that be sort of a thing, or are we looking at this too deep?
I mean, that's up to the artist, right? Because
I
I'll
think
tell you
if you know
what,
who you're smoking with,
that's
Yeah.
exactly it, man.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yep.
Dude,
if you know
I
who you're
hope to have
smoking with, you know
Rascal
what you're
Farmer
smoking.
on soon because he's the producer of that
Oh,
hash up there.
Rascal! I haven't
Yeah,
talked to
man,
Rascal
and-
face to face for a minute.
He's hoping to join us as well here soon.
I
We're
mean,
trying
I'm
to find a
down.
date, but he's the grower and processor of that hash up there that I showed you earlier. And I mean, yeah, like he's gonna tell you that about it, you know, and how he created it and the fact that it's a temple ball and all that, because it's an art and it's almost kind of like a lost art, you know, and he's just trying to like share his art, you know, and I think there's a different level of respect for that versus someone that's just like, here, dab this, you know, versus, hey, you want to try some of this hash from my garden, you know, like, ooh.
I do that anyways with people.
I will say I hate watching Rascal's fucking finger fuck his hash, and I'll tell him that to his face. I hate watching. I bet you there's a lot of people that like it. I fucking hate it.
I love sharing some shit that's really good. Like that's why I've gone around like collecting stuff. Like that's why you heard me say I had some stuff in there from over 2 years, because I kind of like a little klepto about, I keep stuff in there from maybe 4 or 5 years ago, just because I like want to preserve that year and that moment that I smoked something. And it's like
You feel bad doing it. Like
that last
it's
scoop,
so good.
you don't want
Yeah.
to take it out. You're just like
Just
that memory, those feelings that you had while you were smoking it. It's like it's so good. So you just keep a little bit behind.
It's freaking awesome. Oh, there you go. Yep. That's one you hold on to.
nice.
Hell yeah. Dated. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Oh, you're muted.
It's okay. I don't want to talk to you guys anyways. That is one that will not get opened. Well, it will not get finished. I believe there's some left in there.
Is it just the smell that gets you?
It's just the bottle or just a jar, dude. This jar has been 4 or 5 years. I don't even know how long.
Oh wow, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
Still got a good amount in there.
Yeah,
Hey, nice.
But I can't. I see the jar back every once in a while.
Couple memories.
Makes me
left.
smile. Takes me back to when I showed him my critical. Minute I'll never fucking forget ever. So, but anyways, throwback to kleptomania.
I got a jar. I got a jar of Jason's stuff, and it's got the little cup symbol on it still.
Clementine.
There's stuff in there.
What's okay, so I've lasted maybe 5 years, probably about that 4 or 5 year mark for having hash like vac sealed in the freezer unopened, just to see how long it lasts if I kept it like that, right? And to see if it had changed anything from day, you know, uno to day, I don't know, whatever 5 times 365 is, you know. Is that about 1,680 days later or something? I don't know. Don't do math live. That's a terrible idea. In any case, I found that, you know, it didn't change at all as long as it didn't get oxidized, as long as you kept it cold, you know, kept it in a dark sealed, whatever, cool environment. I have stuff from 2015. So we're coming up on 10 years now. And we're talking flower sealed in mason jars of strains that I grew 9 years ago. Now, I don't have any intention of smoking. I see Pedro shaking his head. There's definitely no intention of smoking that. I would love to actually lab test it, if anything.
I could see
but,
that.
and I do have some concentrates that are almost as old as that from myself. But what's the longest you sat on anything and thought it was, you know, still worth dabbing? Because I do think there's a certain point where, like, if you're not keeping it chilled, not oxidized, whatever, like it degrades, it matures. Like there's a certain level of like, I probably should have finished that already.
I think it depends on the type of concentrate, like the aesthetic, right? Like
Wait, you mean there's variables?
Gonna get you to
Well,
say it.
of course. Because like if it's something that's like diamonds, right? I think those kind of like they oxidize a little quicker, in my opinion. Like just from having stuff from over time. Now, if it's something more saucy, that shit lasts a little bit longer because it just kind of.
As long as it's sealed, though, right? Because you would think the saucier
And-
stuff would kind of evaporate quicker.
And
almost, right?
lasting
Well-
where and how?
In a cooler, in a refrigerator.
Cooler
Mine-
refrigerator?
Mine don't leave the refrigerator. As soon as they come, like literally this leaving it here is probably the longest they'll sit out on the counter, and then they go right back inside. You know what I'm saying? And that's only because I know the life of it will be so much longer when I leave them in the cooler. So I've got these little coolers because they, I mean, it's fucking life right now.
Yeah, I mean, right here, baby, little Frigidaire cooler. You know what I mean? Just like the car cooler. Take it with you.
I have levels to my shit, you know, because we've said it already. But I have the jars that will sit, unfortunately, on the desk here in front of me for however long it takes me to smoke them, depending on how many variables, right? Usually a week or two, right? But they're almost always in my Myron jars, so the UV is not a big deal. And this room back here is generally cold. But then there's the second level, which is always in the fridge, and you know that's where my jars. That's where the jars that aren't even, they're still fresh pressed, still sitting in there. They're curing. They're literally cold curing. There's another fucking line we could draw in the sand, but they're literally cold curing. And then there's a shit that I want to hold on to, and that's number one, sealed in a jar, and then either single or double vac sealed individually, and then put into the freezer, generally in another hard
Individually vac sealed. I like it.
Yeah, I don't want to pop a vac and have 3 or 4 jars come out of vacuum. So I've actually done a tech in the past and it takes a little bit of patience and whatnot, but where you can seal like in a long row. You can just cut the one off and cut the next one off, and
Sausage sealed.
yeah, it takes a little bit of patience and whatnot, but you can do it.
I thought I
Technique.
had it around me. I don't think it's handy. Usually I have so many things on this desk. I just pull things within range. But you've got the vac sealer, right? With the lid that comes down, and you click the vac button, and then maybe you click the seal button or vac seal button or whatever, and it closes down and vacs and seals in the same spot, right? I'm thinking, Mylar bags, that like heat sealer arm. Could you use that on vac seal bags to make the kind of grid as you go, so you don't have to vac like the whole line? You know what I'm saying? So you could kind of make the
like you're kind of cutting it.
So like
a checkerboard.
So like take 4 of them in, just for number. Take 4 of them, vac seal them apart from each other.
Well,
and
do a
then
vertical line, and then vac seal up like you're talking. But maybe you have 6 vertical lines or something. I'm just wondering if I've never tried that before.
Yeah.
I might give
You'd have to do 2 of them because you'd have to cut between them, to separate it. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Good point. Or just be very precise with some very fine scissors.
So yeah, so yes. And after all that bullshit, I just individually seal and put it in.
Yeah.
I've got a big old Pelican in the freezer right there under lock and key that I got to open up and dig through it. There are all these individual. I mean, it's kind of a mess. I kind of need a bigger Pelican, but I like to try to have at least 6 months or a year because of like fucking Professor Dab said, it's time, so got to make sure that we're stacked up where we can be. But yeah, so there's levels. There's on the jar, or there's on the counter, there's in the fridge, and then there's long time in the freezer. Always vac sealed in the freezer.
I always run out before I get to long-term storage.
You what?
I always run out before it makes it to long-term storage.
And that's where when Fergoli
one of those
when Fergoli was asking about the long-term, man, I think 2 or 3 years.
When you first wash and you pull like a couple 100 grams, you're looking at that fridge like, damn. And a couple months later, and you realize like half's gone. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, a couple months.
Well,
Yeah, the first stock is
Yeah.
great, and then
There's
when you're
levels
like
to this shit, man. There's
at
levels
the
to
start
bottom
with
of it,
really,
you're
really
feeling
big dabs when
you're
you got
feeling
that
bad
fucking
when it's at the
freezer.
bottom of it.
Dude, me and me and Hetty Boy, my apprentice, if you will, we've been calling him that. We just had we were trying to do the math because we were trying to make ourselves not feel so bad, but it was easily a 21 gram jar to work this week, and it is 3 grams. You know, I mean, and if you, like I said, you divide it in
Crazy.
half and divide it in 3 days, and it's like, dude, well, yo, we just smoke 2 grams a day, bro, each. Like, you know, like,
Yeah,
and that's on a low estimate. You know?
we start getting there every now and then. Like, how about tomorrow we just slow down a little?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
just
I
to feel
used to
better
smoke
about
that
it.
much.
You know
I've
what I
been
have
more
found
conservative lately.
getting into the conservative and whatnot speech is taking bigger and or smaller dabs at a hotter or lower temp and only taking like one draw, you know, and then
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm very picky with my banger temps. So if the
what
temperature
are
of the
they?
banger
Yeah.
drops too low, then I definitely will pull the stick off and I won't put more material on the banger. I'll take another dab.
Well, first of
Empty
all,
one.
before you get to your
Oh, go ahead.
temperature, I mean, I see all these gadgets and tools and widgets and fun things. You've got this dab bar set up next to you. First of all, explain that, and then show us a little bit about how you dab, because we haven't even gotten to his name yet, guys. He is the professor of dab, right? We're gonna have that explained too. There's so much to unpack here.
Yeah. So where do you want me to start? The
All right,
board?
yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, start with the board, and then we'll get into your dabbing setup.
Well, the board came about because like I just was tired of having like a sloppy table setup for one, my own personal dabbing experience, but then when I would host a dab bar or like a dab class, I didn't want my table to be messy looking, and I was like thinking, why don't dabbers have a rolling tray but for dabbing? And this I already kind of knew the design. I had all these stupid things all over the table trying to look organized, and then one day I met up with this guy who worked with wood. I gave him my design, and this is kind of what we came up with. I don't know if the camera can actually see it, but it's a 3-piece tray. It actually comes apart. Um, Basically, what it does is it has a place for everything you need. It has a place for your bangers, dab tools. You can hold your concentrates here. It elevates your rig off the table, so like when you're actually uh, dabbing and torching, you can use one hand and get the torch to come up underneath the banger
like that a lot.
with almost any size rig. Doesn't matter that if it's like one of those little tiny rigs, it still
It's
gives.
probably high enough for those induction things too, right?
Yeah, it
Have you
should
seen
be.
those
Some
things?
of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not the TSV though. That's a different.
That's a lot of thought into it,
You got-
man. That's awesome.
I'm very much into organization. I wanted to elevate the aesthetic of the way dabbing looked. I didn't want this sloppy, messy stoner, because that's not who I am. That's not what I am. That's not the image that I portray in the cannabis industry. And so I wanted to make sure that if people wanted to elevate their table setup, there was something available to a very high degree, and this is it. You know what I mean? Like there's no other setup out there that I've seen better than mine, because I've thought this out so thoroughly. You know what I mean? The middle platform, the elevation, it comes off. There's space underneath for storage. You can put your concentrates under there. It's got a place for your torch back here. Probably the camera can't even see it, but
Yeah, it's even got your name on it. I'm just not realizing too. That's
I'm
sick.
about to
my
have to get me
name's
one
on
of
it.
those.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I'm kind of over my white silicone mats that I have to
Yeah, I'm
replace
over
every
my
3
shit
shows
now,
because they
too.
get dabby dirty.
And
I'm
I,
sitting
and
here
on
with
my
the
side of
all
the fence,
custom desk that
and on
just
my
has
side of the
random
fence,
shit scattered.
it shits on the table. It does, and that's really what I'm kind of about. I'm kind of about that, like, coming with it. You know what I mean? Like, when I show up, I'm coming with that vibe. I'm coming with, the maximum that dabbing can be at. I'm all gadget out. Not to say, I'm not gonna say I have like the most expensive rig, because that's not
Oh, that bitch
that's
is
not
fresh, though.
necessary. But I have a great heady rig. I'm part of the heady community. I do have heady bangers. I have the heady setup, everything you can think of from top to bottom. I'll think it through before you can already have. If it's already out, I probably have already ordered it. I probably already got it. You know what I'm
Love it.
saying? Like, if it's heady enough, or if it's nice enough, if it fits the vibe, my dab tools,
Yeah. Walk us through it. Walk us through the dabbing experience. Give us a close up of that rig. Tell us about the temps we're aiming for. I see you got a torch, so we're doing torch, not doing induction or e-nail or something like that. It looks like you got a
So
is that
this
a
is
turf
for
slurper? What is it called?
So this is a turf slurper banger. I got lots. I mean, there's so many different bangers you can use, right? But this is for the traditional dabber, right? This setup. It's not for the person who's going to use
Traditional. This is way past what I'm doing over here. Okay, I'm not. This is high class.
It's not. The electronics. It's nothing electronic. This is everything that if you are rolling a blunt, right? If you're the guy who rolls a joint or rolls a blunt, this is the experience you're looking for when you go home to dab, or when you're trying to dab. You want to take a little bit of time and finesse into your craft, right? So
that explains it, because I can't roll a blunt or a joint. So okay.
So with that being said, there's lots of steps that are involved in dabbing, right? And to rule out whether you can dab right or wrong, yes, you can dab right or wrong. But however, there are many different ways to dab right and many different ways to dab wrong. And there's
tell
many
us your
preferences.
top worst ways of dabbing wrong. What's the worst ways of doing it?
Damn, put him on a spike, make him make shots over there.
Too high of a temperature.
Easy, right?
Okay. You're
which
using
is what? What's kind of like the upper limit? Even if you want a hot
700 and above.
Okay.
700 above is just
your hotter is hotter than
obnoxious.
mine.
You can do that. That's fine. Again, preferences. You're medicating. If you want to waste your shit, no problem. I'm into efficiency and effectiveness. I'm trying to get the most out of my shit. So
you want to taste it or not?
Yeah, right. You're trying to get knocked on your ass.
So 700 degrees, you're not really getting the most out of your dab, unless you got a gigantic banger and a shit ton of wax you're throwing in there. And that's there's be different variables to that, but I would never really be needing to dab at that high of a temperature. So
he did what?
He said variables. He said it.
Oh, cut it.
cut it. But again, I mean, there's different ways you can do this shit. I mean, I do have a preference in the temperature I like to dab at, which is probably around anywhere between 550, 580, depending on the concentrate. That also depends on the aesthetic of my concentrate too, right? Is it coming out of the cooler? Is it sitting on the counter? That would also depend on what temperature I'm going in on my banger, because bangers only hold the temperature for a few seconds in the right range that you're trying to dab, right? So if
unless you got an e-nail, but yeah,
unless you have an e-nail, exactly. So if you're traditional dabbing, if you have to torch your banger, or even put it sitting on the TS, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. If you gotta torch this motherfucker up, you know what I'm saying? You basically have to wait for it to get it to this perfect zone that you want for your preference, right? And for my preference, that zone is probably anywhere between 550, 580, 6, somewhere around there. And if it's coming out of the cooler, I always tell people I'm starting to put it in on the banger around 600, because what I've learned is that colder temperature is going to immediately drop your banger an extra few degrees immediately. It's like throwing a steak in a pan. The pan is going to cool off as soon as you put that in the pan, right? So taking that into account, my banger temperatures would be dropping a lot faster, and I'm like not getting the best out of my dab. I'd only get through like half of the amount that I put on the stick. And so I figured out that you just got to go in a little higher if your wax is coming straight out the cooler. If it's table temp, then you probably would want to go in probably around like 550, especially with like rosin, something like that. So
yeah, and that's not something I would even really consider, because I honestly like I should do the cooler behind me, but there's nothing in it. It's unplugged. It's for show right now, because I don't really keep shit in the cooler unless I'm trying to do that long-term storage. And in that case, it's getting vac sealed, putting in a freezer, and just forgot about, until that one day. And I'm like, shit, I'm out of hash, guys. What do I do? The cooler, go to the freezer. Digging down past popsicles and old, ground beef that's probably no good anymore.
You guys have a different advantage, right? Being a grower or a processor, you get your hands on material a lot quicker, sooner, almost whenever you want, almost, I guess you could say, right?
I mean,
So you
it's kind of a plan for thing, but
you can time it out better, right? I, on the other hand, don't have that privilege, right? I don't know when the material's coming in. I don't know how much stock you're getting in. So shit, if you ain't got it, I ain't got it. So I got to make sure it's sitting in that cooler to you next time that you have, you know what I'm saying? And
well, yeah, especially depends on the grower too, because right, some people are pumping out the same stuff every month or whatever. They got a good sized grow, maybe they got multiple grows, or they will grow the same cuts or something, or they're growing whatever the hype is. But yeah, for someone like myself, that's pretty much mostly for the last 5 years or so, kept like a half a dozen strains, and some of those a couple of those have been around longer than those 5 years. And it's like, yeah, like limited plant counts, all that stuff. Like it's hard to keep a level of production that means things are in stock. It's basically impossible to do.
Are you perpetually harvesting then? Like
yes,
you're staggering everything.
It's all stagger. I mean,
you're continuously producing. So like that's different from my setup where I chop the whole room, wash the whole room, store everything until my next harvest. So I'm kind of,
there's been, I think there's been,
fire.
I want to say twice, probably 3 times in the last 4.5, 5 years that I've not had a flowering plant in my main flower room. And that is, for maximum maybe like 10 days at a time or something like that, right? And that's not because I'm harvesting and putting in new plants, immediately flipping and being that efficient. It's because I'm perpetually harvesting, perpetually cloning, not keeping moms, so to speak, but perpetually propagating, I guess would be the term, and cultivating these strains, harvesting them, processing them, just rinse and repeat.
Are you harvesting the whole room at each time though, or are you?
No, man, because like I'm visualizing my calendar right now. And
like this tray, then this tray, then this tray.
No, dude, it's not even that right now. I've got I've got my room split in 2 sides. There's 4 lights on this side, 4 lights on this side. This side is on the floor. This side is on tables. They're 4x8 tables. Each table has 2 lights, right? Mm-hmm. Over here, it's just a bundle of plants growing from the floor. Out of the less than 20 plants that are in there right now, it goes something like this. 2 plants were put in day 1. Day 4, 1 plant was put in. Day 8, 4 plants were put in. Day 12, another plant was put in. Day 17, 3 plants were put in, but they're all different. Day 21, 8 plants were put in of 2 different shades. It's just kind of like, all right, these plants look healthy. Let's go.
next. Just start pulling them when they're ready. Then that's cool.
Yeah, man.
That's wild.
Pretty much. As long as I have all the strains still quote unquote in stock,
Yeah.
It sucks to have to re-veg.
You gotta be good at labeling and remembering where you put shit though. That's for
just keep a clipboard handy with your inventory once a month. It's that's about all you got to do.
if you have the space, like I have had, doing a full canopy harvest for me is easier, but I'll definitely have more than 1 canopy, so it's perpetual in that way. I have 2 3x3 tents sitting next to each other, and then I've got a full canopy so that I can at least have something perpetual. But on the same note, that's why I have that goddamn big stash in the freezer, so when shit goes wrong or whatever, you get an infestation, you got to move, you got to do this, you got to do that, you lose a run for whatever reason,
COVID.
You got your stash.
That's really why I started stocking up shit. Let's be honest.
That's how my new setup is I've split my 4x8 into 2 zones so that I can split harvest, split the room into 2 separate harvests and stretch this out a little bit better.
And I should say I'm usually pretty good. Like my last 2 harvests were a full 4x8 table. Like each harvest was a 4x8 table, and they were about 10 days apart or something like that. So I was pretty well planned with that. The challenge for me right now is I want to say it's only like 80 days now until Hash Bash Cup. So if I don't have it in flour kind of right now or like tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like one of those types of deals, it's not going to be ready in time, especially for flour, but even potentially as concentrate, depending on my workload and stuff. So, I'm just kind of pushing everything through.
Us hash and rosin makers have to figure in a fucking cure time.
I mean, a cure time, but so do the flour guys. I mean, if you're doing it right, that's the thing. I've seen a lot of poorly cured flour. Like everyone,
right?
Bro, I haven't grown.
There you go.
It's funny, like you can say it this way and mean it a different way, but I haven't grown flour in
I haven't stored any flour in
I have some joints.
6 years.
I got some sample joints from Eden the other day. I don't know where the fuck they're at.
I randomly find jars around the house, like in some cabinet, and it'll be like a half a jar of flour. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, how long that been
recently?
Nummy numbers.
I see Red Setter in chat. I reuse his jars quite often.
Let me see that Frosty, damn it. You keep teasing me with it. Let me see that Frosty, bitch. Oh, the gold teeth. Oh, screaming.
Oh, that's great.
So is a slurper your favorite style banger then?
These days, yes. But
these days.
But when I need just like a really, I don't know, it depends, man. I do like my bucket styles. I do like to kind of work my dab. Lately, the slurper is just a little easier. It's a little bit, it's hard to say. It's a shorter dab for me.
Oh, right? It punches me in the effing face.
It's a more concentrated dab.
You don't have to take as many draws.
You gotta really pull it. You know what I'm saying? So
okay.
I would say depending on variables, depending on the rig and or air restriction of the slurper or blender or whatever these guys want to call them these days.
Yeah, I mean the bucket. I kind of like to do with like a little bigger dabs, right? Especially with
okay.
Yeah, when my space hits, like if it's a Fragrance Leaf flight pack, if it's in the little, I'll put it in a bucket. They can only really be done in buckets, you know what I mean? So certain bangers you kind of have to like use.
Yes,
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. You'd have to like tilt it on its side and then it'd shoot off or something.
I guess that's the difference between show yours again.
Which
over there. Yours is
really thin.
Yeah, that's a slurper, and this is a blender. So they don't have this doesn't have the neck down.
Same family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different style.
Basically the same exact function, just different body style.
Right.
For sure. This one, I can safely knock a gram in this one. But when I really want to go to town, and if I want to go to 1 gram or 2 grams, then I just grab the big boy bucket. And I mean, big.
That's great. That's great.
We've got a couple of new ones coming next week.
I got something as big as that.
You get some LAs?
Nah,
no,
it's not as nice.
I'll be checking his sale out tomorrow though.
I grabbed a couple last week. I got
a drop.
There's a big boy. What's millimeter?
40.
That's a big boy.
That's a cup. That's a shot glass.
Yeah, it's a coffee mug.
Yeah.
The only one I have to compete with that's the only one I got to compete with.
An espresso mug. There you go. Dude, you better take some espresso shots out of that thing on your next live.
It doesn't even say what size it is. Hold on, let me see.
That's hilarious.
90?
Damn, that's big.
Jeez.
No, it can't be a 90. That doesn't make sense. 90.
It has to come with like its own cap.
Right.
You need like 2 torches.
Plunger on the top of that damn thing.
14 millimeter.
You could drop a banger full of dabs, like a 3 grams of concentrate in a banger inside of that banger.
Oh yeah, you
That's
could
your
use it
swirly flight.
like an what are those little ones that
A
spin?
double banger.
Yeah.
An actual
Yeah, I gotta.
banger.
Hey, shout out to Professor Dab. You know, I last year I got a couple rounds of the packaging of the flights, and that is all because Professor Dab and his space hits. He's the one that pointed me in the right direction for the packaging, and I had for a long time wanted to do something like that, but I didn't. There wasn't a solution packaging wise, and then he'd introduced me to his space hits, and I was like, well, can I steal this but call it something different, basically? And he was all for it because he's a fucking cool ass dude, and I appreciate that. And I didn't have the greatest experience dealing with the supplier. I'll just leave it there, but I haven't re-upped or anything since, and I don't know if I will, but every once in a while it's kind of like those strains that come and go, you know, like strains I've grown 5, 6, 7 years ago, that every once in a while someone will be like, hey man, you still got golden goat or whatever it is. Like, God, you've been around since like 2014, haven't you?
Yeah, those guys have had some packaging issues, like in terms of getting their supplies in, which I've learned. But just to touch base, I guess I'll go over what a space hit is, because I really what it comes down to is going around finding the best material all around the country, and finding stuff that like you really want to share with people, and then finding out that when you mix certain strains together, they get you really fucked up. And so what I tried to do is try to get myself really, really fucked up one day. Like extra super dumb fucked up. Like as much fucked up as you possibly could off of cannabis. Like, I guess you could say I was trying to do some overdosing on cannabis. Something
Overdose.
that's like you can't do, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I guess I was having like I can't remember. I can't
Were
really
you
say if
smoking or eating?
everything.
Okay, good.
So I can't really say it was like a down day, right? But I was really just trying to like test the waters a bit.
Experimenting.
You know what I'm saying?
So
So
you got a day or a little bit more, and you just got a stockpile you're interested in, and let's see what happens.
I had a bunch of stuff from the cannabis cups and going around. So I started mixing a bunch of little dabs together, and I I had gotten higher than I ever had one day, and I was like, man, I think I'm on to some shit. And then I was like, all right, I kind of want to like, long story short, I kind of like started making these like little concoctions for my dab bar services and getting people super floored. And they were just like higher than they've ever been when they come to a dab bar. And I was like, all right, I'm basically like the king of this shit now. Like I've got a dab that like will out dab your dab basically. And that's basically what I was trying to do. I was like trying to create a dab that will out dab your dab. And that's basically what a space hit is made to do. And people hate it when I say I've got the best dab in the world because I've taken all this shit and I've tried to beat what you have. And most people are only going to come with one strain, right? So technically, one strain will never beat multiple different strains. It can't happen. And because of the logic behind it, I started trying to make it very complex in a way that it was just my art. So I would take different aesthetics of wax. Not only would I take batters, I take fucking diamonds, I take fucking THCA, I take rosin, I take, shatter, I take it all. It started off as this little thing, and then I wanted to like bottle it up and package it and hand it to you because it just became such a hit.
And it
Everybody,
was this witch's brew, right? Of like, it wasn't, you guys saw my flights. It was, okay, maybe this one's clementine. Now you get to try some lime skunk. I'm now over to cobra milk or whatever. His was like that entire flight, but in every bucket. So like,
yeah.
what he said is, it was like, think about those like jars, like those mason jars when we were kids, where you layered the sand, right? The colored sand. You make cool little art projects like that, and then give it to your third grade teacher and be all proud of yourself, right? And then she shakes it in front of you because she doesn't understand what it is, and you're like, oh. Anyways, he kind of was doing that with space hits, and it was cool, man, because I didn't really understand like what it was at first, and I'm like, okay, you're mixing dabs, like okay, this packaging's pretty sick, but then it's like, oh no, he's like, he's trying to bring in not just like a couple good dabs, like the best of the best, and combine it into this just face melting experience. And those were what, like quarter gram, maybe a third gram. How loaded up were those buckets?
At least about 0.3s on like,
okay,
because what I was trying to do is I was trying to know. All right, I knew what the proper dose was to medicate somebody, but I also knew if somebody's dabbing every day, what is the proper dose that they normally have to take to get to a certain point. That dose is normally about a 0.2 to 0.3 will get you high. I don't care who you are, what you're going to say, that amount will get you high if it's good cannabis, right? And so I was like, all right, there's not going to be a case where somebody can come up here, they're going to hit one of my buckets and go walk away and be like, they didn't get high. That's not something you can say when you hit a space hit. Like, that does not happen 100% of the time, right? So I just made sure that the amount that was in there was was a certain amount. And then 2, what was going into the buckets were specific strains of specific aesthetics that I knew were amazing and done so well that you could not say that was not going to work on you, because I was working with the best. I'm going to these events and I'm talking to certain people that you can and can't talk to. And when I do, it was, an experience, and I wanted that experience to be something that I could share in my own art form. And that's, basically how I started doing those space hits and just creating a dab that I knew would get you high.
Show that shirt. You're covering up with your sweet dreads, but
the dreadies.
Yeah, the dreadies. It's because I love the art too. It's fun. It's spacey. it's got wax coming out the rocket, man. Like I was thinking.
Yeah, it's a little rocket ship going over the world, and then there's skyline of Chicago, because that's the city that I represent. But just getting people high over the world, all over the world, we're getting people high. Basically, that's just the motto. And
yeah,
man, I want to make sure people walked away with a great experience from a dab bar and like from cannabis, right? And now, don't get me wrong, if you're a first-time dabber, space is definitely not for you, because that's too much. But if you're looking for an experience, right? If you're a dabber and you're like, man, this shit gets boring, I just get good dabs all the time, blah blah blah. The space hit is the experience. It's like the fucking like creme de la creme, right? It's like, how do you get something thought out as well? You have to like travel, you have to go grab this dab and that dab and that dab from this guy and this guy and that guy. You got to come back home, you got to put them all together. If you don't do that,
and
then...
bro, I've packaged load of concentrates, the most tedious. I mean, I've trimmed so much weed. Okay, yeah, you know how tedious those things are, especially Pedro and Superior, and probably a lot of people watching right now. Guys, packaging these flights was the most obnoxious thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Those little tiny jars.
It's something that no one would ever want to do.
Dude, gramming anything out is just tedious.
Let me see if I can
0.15. Pedro,
Yeah,
these
tiny grams.
Like 2 of them could fit on my pinky nail, and I was weighing every single little jar to 0.15 grams or more.
Stupid.
Yeah, fortunately he has some packaging. It looks like I don't think I even have any more packaging. There you go. I'm glad you got this to share.
Yes, sir. I'm missing one, actually. I just smoked one out of here. I just smoked one because they're so fucking good.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah. That would be tedious as fuck.
Dude,
that is
you need like pointed dab tools.
Damn, dude. Goddamn, fuck that. And they're this little glass. So you just drop it in.
It's quartz.
It's quartz.
Or quartz. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could just drop it right into your banger.
And it comes with a pair of tweezers to pull it out when you're done. I mean, it keeps your banger clean. That was the biggest thing for me. It's like, this is, I mean,
it's
But
really
they're
a
cool.
bit too hard.
Just tedious. Yeah.
Oh, I ripped the
packaging
shit
is
out of
just unique. So like, when
Mhm.
you see it, you're like, oh shit, that's something way different than I've ever
Yeah.
seen. There's no other dab packaging like it. So I knew that right off the bat, I'd get you on packaging. You'd be interested, like, what the fuck is this shit? And then, once I started, had to get to the explanation. If you were a dabber at all, then you definitely were gonna be for it,
Yeah.
And if you've ever tried one or ever get the chance to, you know what the fuck they're about, because they are a special treat, man. They're fucking good, man. It's like
It's a fun time.
if I had actually bought some of Pedro's shit, I probably would have made a batch with his shit in it. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah, you would have. Trust me, because I've been able to try his stuff too. And actually, you know what?
Yeah, maybe we need to make a drive.
I
somewhere,
think
somehow.
all four of us have tried both Fergroli and Pedro stuff. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. At first, it was
yeah.
just me.
Yeah. Hell yeah,
Mhm.
dude. Sweet.
Finally.
This is
But yeah.
fun.
A special treat.
They
Yeah,
really
man.
are, man. We're gonna have to make a trip here soon. Filling up the freezer, working on it. We got grape fun dip and garlic punch coming up next. So probably my two closest strains that I have in my garden right now. Grape fun dip being the most recent addition. We talked a little bit earlier about that. One pheno hunt a year or whatever. And grape fun dip was added, I guess, last year. I flowered it out, or I pheno hunted the seeds from Ohm Seeds, flowered it out, found one that I liked and re-vegged it because I don't know if I didn't take any clones or maybe they weren't successful or I don't know what, but probably just didn't take any. I think I didn't take any because I had finally gotten successful with re-vegging, so I'm like, I'll just rely on that, and so I re-vegged the grape fun dip, took 2 rounds of clones on it, and then through the same plant I had already flowered out and took several rounds of clone off of from seed and flowered it again the second time. Tell you what, guys, not as successful the second time, but it was still healthy and great smoke and all that fun stuff, but just didn't produce as much. And I probably could have done a better job of cleaning it up and, actually prepping it a little bit more rather than just giving it haircuts for cloning all the time. But regardless, that is the newest edition, not including the current pheno hunt that hasn't gone to flower yet, but it's pretty close to garlic punch, which I'm just harvest. Those were the 2 4x8 tables I was talking about. So now I have a chance to compare both the flower, which is curing, and the extract, which I still have to run. I know what the extract is like from garlic punch and the flower, what it's like from garlic punch because I've been growing it for 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. Maybe more. I don't even remember now. It's hard to keep track of some of these things.
I've got a question. As a
Well,
grower,
real quick, hold on, real quick. So I'm kind of getting to that point where I might have to make a decision between those two, which one to put on the chopping block, potentially. It's not necessary, but potentially, because they are somewhat similar flavors. They both got this like grapey punch plus something, and one of them is garlic and one of them is chem. And those two aren't, I mean, they're different. They're definitely different, but in the grand scheme of things, they're kind of on the same end of the spectrum or on the color wheel or whatever. So sorry, Professor, what was your question?
yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Is there a difference between like just growing for concentrates and growing flower just
Pedro, you want to take it?
flower?
That's great, dude. The consultation that I had earlier today asked me pretty much the same exact question, and my answer to him was pretty much no. It's fire in, fire out. If you want, there's subtle differences, yes, but no, fire in, fire out. The subtle differences would be density of the bud.
Mm-hmm. So the more you top it, the more branching you get, the smaller buds you get, but it's not necessarily
yes, that would help.
strain.
That would help
That's what garlic
absolutely
punch
as well with a super dense bud. That would help monumentally. But just having something that is not a dense bud.
I gotcha.
Is more of a sparse. That's not necessarily sativa because you don't want that node distance.
It's
But
almost
like all
airy.
PGR'd out.
Almost
you know what I mean?
airy,
Like,
exactly. Almost airy.
You want
for sure.
the fluffier buds that wash
Mhm.
easy.
That would just open up in water that you don't have to
Release
beat up
the
to get open
trichomes.
up. And then the consistency of the oil, so
Mhm.
that's not necessarily a grow style, so to speak. It's more of a phenotype type difference. But then a lot of times what I've noticed too, and I noticed this years ago early on outdoor growing, that I always grow for concentrates anyway, so I would assume it would translate into just smoking flower. But late in flower, when you stress the plant, it starts to bring out stress. Trichomes in the oil are the plant's defense against a lot of things, stress, whether that be bugs, UV, temperature change, blah blah blah, and that's what stress is. So if you can induce stress, like inducing a temperature change, like outdoor when it grows, that can definitely help express different flavors and colors sometimes, which I would say on a lesser scale. But no, ultimately, the growing style and whatnot, no.
I agree, Pedro. I've tried. Like I've tried to grow for concentrates. But it kind of interferes with my philosophy on growing, because my philosophy on growing is there's a certain genetic potential to the plant, and us as growers, we can provide the most ideal environment for that genetic to be expressed. But anything we do that doesn't meet that ideal maximum is only reducing its capability, whether that's in trichome production, resin production, maybe a terpene expression, volume, anything like just avoidance to pests and disease and things like that. All of those are variables when it comes to this. So, bottom line, like you said, it's fire in, fire out. So now my goal it has reverted back to just growing the best possible flower I can, and knowing that if I do that, I will also have the best possible concentrate. Because
Now,
there's
another
nothing you can do. I mean, we can polish a turd, there's CRC and that kind of stuff, but I don't do any of that. So it's like, if I grow a turd, you're gonna get a turd.
Now, between you two as processors and growers, correct?
Correct.
But one does rosin, live rosin, one does live resins.
Correct.
Correct. So then,
Mine's better.
I love it.
I was
waiting for him
Yeah.
to walk away.
And I'm the odd one out.
Just
where I'm-
end stream now.
he's won an
teasing.
award.
I'm teasing.
Cannabis
But
High Times Cup Award
with-
winner. No, just kidding. No,
My philosophy is kind of the same. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
Professor.
my bad. So,
Yep.
like, just between that two, then, so I guess the philosophy, because as a rosin grower, right, you have to grow the flower a little differently for the rosin. Is that correct? Like if you're making rosin, but because you're
I think
making BHO,
it's more about the strain. It's
Yeah,
more about the
the
lineage.
pheno hunt.
Yeah.
More about the pheno hunt.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Not
So
everything
once-
washes.
because certain strains dump more than others, right?
Yeah. So I think
It's
what
not
you're
just
kind of
that
getting
big.
at and what you're uncovering is that in the rosin, the hash and the rosin game, phenotypes make a lot. And for Grola, you can jump in any time if you disagree with me here, but phenotypes make a lot bigger of a difference because, like for Grola said, fire in, fire out, pretty much end of the story with him. But with me, fire in, fire out. But you got to have an airy bud. But you got to have the right oil, and you got to have the right trichomes. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
More
there's
caveats.
there's some more caveats in there that have to be met, so to speak.
That's my question.
But so let's go with my flower. Once I have critical kush, right? There would be no difference of growing my critical kush for rosin than for Growly growing Critical Kush for resin.
But my guess is this. Basically, what I was getting down to is why don't we just turn Growly's fucking flower into some rosin?
I've tried. Okay, so here's the problem, dude. And Pedro is kind of alluded to this.
Just
You
once or
can-
twice.
You can,
I love the BHO anyways. Doesn't matter.
like, for example, a super dense flour, right? Something that's like has been just sloshed with PGRs, like just that's a brick. You throw it at a wall, and all of a sudden you got an indent in your drywall. You're like, ooh, okay, that type of bud. That's probably not going to wash as well as that kind of airy type of bud like he's talking about.
Correct.
That being said, that might only affect your return, right? Which is a volume thing, which is a commercial economical standpoint, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be fire hash, right?
Correct.
Same with something like a quote unquote greasy strain, right? It doesn't mean it's not going to come out fire. It just might mean you might have more work on the cleaning side. You might not get a good return.
It
might make it not worth your while.
Yes.
So it's the yield. It's always about the yield.
So right, it's like an upside down pyramid, right? Whereas like BHO at the top kind of can do everything. You start going down this like hole of like the most ideal for hash making, and you start weeding out a lot of different genetics pretty quickly because if it's greasy, it's just not going to work. And here's the thing: I've had what I would consider a professional, an expert, let's put it that way, an expert hash washer, water hash maker, and rosin process or whatever, wash my clementine. And I don't remember the exact returns or anything, but I'm just going to throw out some numbers. It was something like, okay, let's wash 900 grams of fresh frozen. And on the other end, let's get about 7 grams of return. And so it's like, that's not worth anyone's time, It was great smoke, but I'm not doing that again, So like, I'm just going to keep that for BHO and know that, well, at the time, it's just not going to work. Now,
what would be the numbers on BHO?
Yeah, wait. You want to go back to that you want to go back to those numbers with rosin? Because I just pulled up my phone. I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
you had 900 grams. You had 900 grams of fresh frozen.
Again, I don't remember the numbers, but
that's okay.
It's less than 1% return.
Let's just go with a 900 gram return.
907
of fresh frozen flour.
Fresh frozen to, I assume it was rosin. Yeah, it must have been rosin at the time.
And rosin was the 7 grams or something you're talking about.
Yeah. The complete end product was like just over a quarter ounce.
Okay, so I mean, let's go with just 900 grams. We can go 1,000 if you want to. Let's go with 900 grams. 900 grams and fresh frozen, if it's let's say it's a mediocre washer, good but not great, you're going to get 3%, right? That's 27 grams. Let me make sure I do that right.
Yeah, that sounds.
This is where you're doing it. This is where you're.
I think it was less than 1%.
That's a good washer, though. You said.
Not even.
So a bad washer gets you about 1%.
A bad washer, we'll get you a lot of that.
Anything less than.
So then, if you go times the normal, an average of 8%, or 80% return from hash to rosin, average can go up and down. Obviously, 21.6 grams return on 900 grams of fresh frozen flour, and that's a ballpark. But yes.
So around 21 grams.
So on that 900, what would that give you in BHO?
Yeah.
Let me do that math real quick. We're talking, I mean, average for my personal is like I would say median. Is that the same as average? Is right about 4%. But that's for like my own material. I would say on the average, if we're taking everybody's material, probably more like 3.5%. But I've also seen anywhere from like, maybe probably a little less than 2% all the way up to over, 6 or 7 or maybe even more than that percent. It varies on a lot of variables. Okay. But if we're taking 900 and we're doing that to 4%, we're looking at 36 grams.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, on the business side, definitely taking the 36 over.
Yeah, well, I mean, over
Right.
7
Right.
for sure.
Over 7 for sure.
You know, and
Definitely over 7.
it's not like
Yeah, the
it's
7's
just because it
ridiculous.
has more fats and lipids or
Crazy.
chlorophyll or other things that are considered contaminants in my world. It's just because the process was able to collect more of the concentrate. It's just, but here's the thing. I think that the best washers are still going to do it's not going to beat BHO. It's going to be maybe equivalent, but it's not going to be, whereas
No, I
shitty
mean,
washers can still do awesome in BHO.
let me
And
give you a best case scenario on that. So for 900 grams,
It's 6%.
yeah, let's go. Well,
Hold on, let me do this. Like
let's go
60 grams. 60 grams.
Let's go 5.5%, right? It gives you
Oh,
49 grams of hash.
I thought it was 50 grams. Dang it.
No, 49 grams of hash. And then if you're going to get,
We were running down.
I've recorded 90 percenters, so times 90%. I mean, that's 44 grams of fire fucking rosin.
Yeah, I mean, the best of the best, right?
So, I mean, what do you want to do, man? And then,
over
the
an
funny
ounce
thing
is
is then you
nice.
start talking about my half dries like I do on my critical, and how do you even run the numbers?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say too. It
Lost
is
in between.
the 900 grams of weight, how much of it's water and,
Well,
versus-
so that's where I was going with it. 80% water. We're looking at 6.42 ounces of flour. Would you rather have 40 plus, 36 to 40 plus grams of the headiest, best hash you can possibly get your hands on? Or would you rather have basically 6.5 ounces of fire flour?
Right.
Send it in chat, guys, right now. I want to know whether you're on X.
I'm going with the
YouTube,
hash.
Twitch. The hash, you go with hash.
That's a damn.
I'm
What
going
were
with
the
hash.
numbers
Well,
again? How much flour?
6.5 ounces of flour, or
6.5
let's call it
ounces.
40. Well, let's call it 36 grams of hash.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because even when it's as good as the best, it's like it always feels like it's like tastes kind of burnt after.
Dude, I've always said this. Didn't we say in one in the chat one time? I was like, you want to know what the problem is? You're fucking smoking flour. It tastes like burnt flour.
You're
tastes like
combusting.
burnt flour for sure. The dab tastes like just like greasy.
Yeah, I'm just not.
oily,
I used
terpy.
to.
flavors you can get through the dabs that you just can't.
It's insane.
Here's the deal.
And it's a lot less smoke on the lungs, so it's way healthier for you.
Everybody gets mad at me for saying that and whatnot, but I'll be the first person to say that if and when I do smoke a joint or smoke some flour, fucking gotta sit the fuck down, man. When you jump from boat to boat, like if you smoke from flour for a while and then sit down and hit a nice, dab of some hash rosin, or if you just smoke hash rosin all the time and smoke some flour once in a while.
I ripped the bong right before the show. I was like,
Pre-dab.
Professor, give me a minute. Mrs. Frigoli packed me a bong. I have a mission.
Pre-show dab, during show dabs.
Right?
Speaking of dabs, you should probably take another dab.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to think about how, in my consumption rates, if I had 6.5 ounces sitting in front of me, or 36 grams of concentrate sitting in front of me, and I only got to choose one until it was gone, right? Like how long? And that was literally the only thing I smoked until it was gone, and I was just at my normal rates and everything. How long would one outlast the other? And I know you get sick of stuff, and that's not the whole point. The point is at the rate you smoke flour versus the rate you smoke dabs. Is 6.5 ounces of flour going to last you longer than 36 grams, or is 36 grams so long? Honestly, I think it's going to be pretty freaking equivalent for me.
I have no answer. I have no idea.
I mean, it depends on the type of high you're trying to get. If you're trying to get the intensity of the dab high, then you're definitely going to be smoking shit ton of flour.
Smoking a bunch of
You're going to
belongs.
just be back to back to back. But then again, that's harder to do. It's like, how much time do you have to be
so they're rolling it,
rolling and hitting and packing it.
And it's, I mean, if you can't smoke indoors right now, guys, it is cold as shit outside right now. It is 3 degrees where I'm at right now. and
Oh,
windy. I'm not gonna go stand
Ooh, it's
outside.
7 degrees outside.
Here's the
here,
thing. Check this out. So besides just being, the vapor and smoke, I guess, if you will, I went out and I don't drink at all. Actually, I had an NA beer. It was fun. But I went out to a bar a couple months
Jules
ago.
rules. Sorry.
And it's all right. and I went into the car and took a couple dabs, and my buddy smoked a couple joints, and we went back into the bar, and we weren't even like trying to do this or anything, but everybody noticed him as smelling like fucking weed. You smell like some weed. You smell like weed. Not a one person said anything to me about smelling like weed or anything. So on the inside out that side thing, I don't know, man.
Dude, I mean, think
It's
I think
like
it's a hell of a
it's
lot
okay
easier
to
to-
smell like dabs, but it's not okay to smell like burnt flour.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I'm not.
I would
I'm not the
take his
biggest fan of these,
jar
but-
and start dabbing myself all over my neck and just start
Right.
walking around
Rub
with
into my
some
beard.
The
But I
Turks, right?
definitely am not gonna like smell good like if I just smoked a joint and then walk around and smell like burnt flour.
Right.
I
Now,
don't know when to
Fergroli
rub a
pointed out.
roach on them.
Now, Fergroli pointed out there for ultimate fucking convenience, for smoking the oil and for just going into the bathroom and taking a quick rip. That's the answer right there.
I mean, at a certain. I mean, I've been in.
Can't
lot
do
of
that in
different
the airport.
Not
You
the
can
airport.
only dab-
Definitely not
you
the
can-
airport.
You can
but
dab in the airport.
Been in a lot of commercial.
Definitely do not do that in the bathroom of the airport. Definitely do not. I mean,
You can dab in
on
the
the airplane,
airplane.
especially.
or yeah, that's what I meant.
I was gonna say that the airport bathroom.
If
might
you're trying to
be
live life
okay
one
with
time, you can
that.
do it. But you don't need to do
If
it.
I'm honest.
I've lived life once.
You know what I'm saying? I had to too, but I had to do it just to prove I could do it.
This is what that's for. That's what I'm. People are starting to like. What the fuck are you doing, Pedro? But I'm taking any rosin that I don't want to smoke, whether that's food grade or if it's just rosin.
Jarring
that I don't
pickles.
Smoke. Yeah, I'm jarring pickles over here. I'm
I was gonna say you might have to explain what that is, Pedro.
fucking oily as shit. It's so simple. I just take the rosin that I don't want to smoke, which is generally the 45 micron or whatever it may be. Put it in a jar, decarb it. Once it's decarbed and warm, throw in 50% coconut oil. That's my ratio, just because that's what I want to do. And then it turns into, I mean, this is just room temperature. It turns into this consistency. So then I get a big syringe, a big plastic syringe, with a lure tip or I don't know whatever, it doesn't matter. And I just fill up those little gel caps. I wish I had them here in front of me, but you just get the little gel caps, the little food grade gel caps.
Were they double zeros or something like that?
Yeah, double zero, whatever the hell they are. Yeah. And if I'd done the math ish, because I do it with all rosin, it's between 350 and 400 milligrams if I take a full pill, and I've been known to take 3. I think I mistakenly did that a couple times before the show.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, mistakenly.
All right, don't take those. I have not. I've only done that once since I did it a couple times. So,
Professor, you like edibles? I mean, obviously you got Dab. Oh, we didn't get your name, dude. Where's Professor Dab come from? Are you like
good call.
Were you hold on. I got this, guys. Did you spend, like 8 years going to school, getting a PhD just so you could become a doctor and be called professor? Or maybe you got a teaching certificate or whatever. I don't even think you need that nowadays. And you're a substitute teacher. You just, maybe you're at a college. You're like, I guess I'm a professor now. Or maybe you just have a shitload of student loans and you're like, fuck it, I'm a professor now. Where's the name come from?
Ah, man. All right. It really comes from a lot of stuff. All right. It basically comes down to, well, the name came from this. Basically, do you guys ever watch And One basketball?
Back in the day, dude, I had the LeBron James VHS tapes before, like when he was in high school. Those And One mixtapes. Yeah.
I was trying to basically figure out a name that fit my aura, that fit who I am, like what I do. and a lot of my lifestyle is about teaching. It's a lot about coaching, um, and I was trying to figure out a name that I felt like had some authority to it. And so when you know, doctor's cool, but you know, there was already doctor at the time, Dr. Dab, and I was like, man, I'm trying to be unique. I'm trying to be original. And I just something hit me, and I was like thinking about like the and one basketball, and I was like, man, I'm trying to be, you know, that guy who's underestimated, but whenever he shows up, he's gonna fucking kick ass. The professor, uh, and he was that guy, and then one, and I was like, oh man, professor kind of works, you know. You know, I'm smart. I teach people all this shit, and sure enough, you know, the name was kind of available, and it just kind of stuck, and I just
Nice.
kind of like really like honed into being professor, like teaching, always educating, showing up with every little detail, paying attention to the details, because the details are what are the most important in cannabis when you're thinking, you know, if you fuck up a detail, then, you know, you could fuck up everything. And
Well, there's a
when I-
lot of them.
there's a lot of them, a lot of variables. So I had to make sure that I came correct. I always had to come hard, right? And when you're teaching, you have to make sure that you're getting every single point down to the T. And you know, that's just how it came to be, man. Like being a professor, I'm doing reviews. I wanted to make sure I could educate people during the review. You know, I didn't want people to just like see a review and then, man, what's wrong with my mic here? See a review. There we go. See a review and then like just kind of fucking
Oh, I
don't
need
know
to
what the
buy
product.
this, or
Yeah, why do I need to
it's
buy
all
it
hype,
if I you know, somebody's smoking and they say they like it and then I buy it and then it works like shit. No, I'll smoke it and show you how it actually works. If it doesn't vape, you won't see me. It won't vape in the video. Like if it doesn't hit, like, and I'm very raw with it. I don't want it to be real and just like be honest, you know, because I am honest. Like I'm so honest. Sometimes people probably think I lie because I'm too truthful, and like that's, you know, that's my motto, just being extra honest all the time. So
They're getting those details that they haven't even heard before, but haven't been offered before. And that's, you know, you remind me with the dab bar setup. It's obviously a different atmosphere, a different event, and all that kind of stuff. But like we've talked before about how like bud tenders on the commercial side are often like it's like frontline workers, right? Like they are like pretty much your only source of education when you go in to buy something. And I mean, not to knock on bud tenders, but like most of the time they're getting their information like third hand. You know, it's not like they're in there doing the growing or the
They're
processing. Like,
sometimes getting it from the salesman that sold them
that's
the
what I'm saying.
product.
Like, yeah, and it's so, and they're not. It's not
sales
like the
pitch.
sales guy was in there either. Like, he might have saw the grow or something, but like chances
That's
are, like, he wasn't
boy, I
involved at
tell you
all.
what, seeing it
Just
from this side,
regurgitating
it's
information that they
yeah,
heard.
you really the education
You're
out
playing
there is
telephone, dude.
a
Yeah,
big part
you
of
gotta
it,
be
man.
able to understand the shit and want to understand it, and I'm very passionate about it. And so, and when you come to the dab bar, you got a question, I'm definitely gonna answer it. I'm ready. Like shit, it's like this is my shot to show you I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and you know what I'm saying. Like and not only that, but I want to give you a great experience. Again, coming down to the experience of cannabis, right? You as a patient or a person coming to enjoy cannabis should have a wonderful experience, especially when it comes to dabs. Dabs can be scary now. Concentrates can be scary, right? And this shit has to be done properly. You have to be inducted the right way. And so if you've never done a dab, if you've never had a dab, if you never smoke concentrates, and you definitely don't want to do it with somebody who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, right? You should do it with somebody who's been doing this for a while, who knows all about terpenes, maybe some temperatures, has some good stuff, because again, there's a lot of variables when it comes down to how you want to introduce concentrates to somebody, because it could scare somebody away from cannabis and they won't want to smoke this shit. But this is probably one of the most beneficial and beautiful sides to cannabis, period. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to smoke concentrates is like unbelievable. The least amount of smoke that you're inhaling and all the flavor that you're getting, the high that comes with it, it's like almost unmatched.
Know what you're making me think, dude. Concentrates are so often in the weed industry compared to the alcohol industry as liquor, right? And so we have beer as weed, and concentrates are liquor, and they often can make the comparison on potency and taxing and regulating and all these types of things. But I look at it, and the reason I got into it is because of the health aspect of it. I come from and still operate on the medical side of this, and I started doing this for myself and still medicate myself, still grow the same strains because they're what helped me, I feel like talking about lexicon and changing words, definitions, I almost feel like concentrate should be changed to decontaminated or something, because like it's we're reducing or we're trying to get rid of.
Fired.
We're trying to get rid of all the shit in flour that is not good for us, and
We're
trying to get
deflowering it.
beneficial stuff, right? So we're concentrating the good stuff, which means we're leaving behind the bad stuff.
Ooh,
what is that called? And I don't want to use remediation because that's
CRC.
We don't do that.
CRC.
Flour
A whole nother
term.
We deflower it.
You like had a semi-automatic, bro. All the flour out there, like fuck.
You said deflower it.
Oh, bad shit. You know how you feel when people call BHO the bad shit?
That shit is horrible. I always gotta defend BHO with like Figroli's name and shit. It's like he's the first person I throw out there. I swear to God. People be like, BHO's boo. I'm like, man, you ain't tried some good shit yet. That's why.
Tell us from your perspective, because I mean, I literally watch people walk by me and like they know what I'm growing and they don't want anything to do, or they know what I'm processing. They don't want anything to do with it because they have that implicit bias or whatever it is, right? I've had a lot of people walk up to me, especially the last couple of years, walk up to me and tell me, man, like I gave up BHO a long time ago, but you're the only BHO I still smoke, dude. Like I hear that so much. But from your perspective, and someone that's not either in Michigan or Colorado, even though you've got, the regional aspect to it, what are you hearing about BHO, and why do you think it has gotten the rap it has in the last couple of years?
So out here, even in city in Chicago or even wherever I travel to, BHO in general has got a bad rep because the flood of the market of bad BHO came in at such a rush. It came in when all those dirty carts came in and all those people were processing crap and started throwing, and it even was right before the CRC craze kind of came in. It was literally before that. And that's also what took part of destroying the BHO name. CRC and whoever, came out with all these mass productions of horrible concentrates, these Ben and Jerry looking
commercial
shit,
industry.
whatever. The stupid ass shit, bro. It ruined the name for BHO everywhere. And so now you can basically you can hide bad flour in BHO, but you really can't hide bad flour in rosin, right? And that's really the argument here now. And so because you can't hide it in rosin, people are like, all right, I'll just go shop for rosin now. And you kind of know what you're getting right off the bat as soon as you kind of see your rosin. But for BHO, you kind of don't know until you maybe try it, right? Unless
is that true? And I guess I kind of want to ask Paige with that. Is that true that you can't hide bad flour and rosin? Because I feel like I've heard quite a few stories of people just, all right, I grew a shitload outdoor, didn't really care about it, but I got all this outdoor, I'm gonna go wash it now. And it's like, you're what?
Hide it from who? The ultimate end consumer?
Yeah, the connoisseur, or just
there's the variable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just the person that wants to spend the least amount of money they can for the most amount of product they can get? They don't care what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it everything, But as far as can you hide it to a connoisseur, to somebody that actually cares? No.
And I would say the same about CRC.
You can only polish a turd so much.
Exactly.
It's still a turd.
Exactly, dude.
And we're actually also
You get
our
pretty
age
turd.
category. Our age is kind of higher than the age gap that allows cannabis in. Cannabis is now allowed in either at 18 and 21 in most states. I think 21 here. And those young people don't know what the fuck they're buying. So they're also ruining kind of the market influx of what should be purchased, what people think, and they're kind of
Yeah.
looking at fads and videos and kind of following that and kind of riding in that
And
wave
it's the
and
right
adding
cost
to it.
point for their age. And
Mhm.
yeah,
They
I
can
mean,
buy bad shit and maybe not understand, but we know the great stuff. So
Right.
we are going to buy great stuff. They don't know. So they, off the bat, you won't see the younger crowd, definitely, probably because they're starting to get wind that it's only rosin should be smoked right now. And that's the fad right now. But I think that's going to die out again, you know?
Yeah, it's just like, why is McDonald's still in fucking business? You know, it's the same fucking thing. You know, I even said this a couple weeks ago. I talked to my sister, who's still going to a dispensary. Talked to my sister the other day, and I said, "Well, what do you spend down there?" She goes, "I don't know. We're like the $10-15 a gram, you know." And I'm just like, which indicates that she's price shopping,
Yeah.
you know, at a dispensary, and for concentrates, you know, which
It's on a budget.
yeah,
But see, I guess there's the thing though. There should be a category for everyone's budget. Now there's
Yep.
bad BHO. If you're trying to spend $10 on a gram, 15, maybe that's the bad stuff. But if you're spending more like 25, 30, maybe, you know, in some places in my city, more like 40, 45, or even BHO still, you know, it's going to be better on the higher end, right? And then rosin prices are kind of like 60 and up around here, you know. That's
And
kind of like
here's a
maybe
lot of the unseen, and it goes for both BHO and rosin, really any kind of hash. What went into that plant? It's kind of like you are what you eat, right?
Mhm.
And I do want to get to that, Professor, still. But what you're putting into your system, whether you're inhaling it, ingesting it, or what have you, that matters. And putting residual solvents and things like that aside, like how was the plant grown? I mean, were pesticides used on it? Because that might show up in lab testing, that might not, right? Like what kind of nutrients? What was the plant? Was it 6 weeks? Was it 9 weeks? Like there's so many of those variables that go into it that you're not really going to know on the other end by just looking at it or even by smelling it. And so you might be smoking more. I hate to say this shit, but like to even put this thought out there, but like it is the case, especially with the vitamin E acetate stuff, with those dirty disty pens and stuff were introduced to the market. You could potentially be smoking more poison than you are medicine. And as someone that's trying to craft a decontaminated, concentrated medicine, to have to sit here and compete against someone that's, you know, trying to lie, just flat out lie to someone about what they're putting on the market, it's tough, you know, and it's frustrating, it's tough, but it's like there's no real checks on that. Even in the license market, there's no real checks on shit like the willow and these things that are decontaminating or remediating, you know, flour, and who knows where it goes from that point. There's, as far as I'm aware, there's not any labeling laws there yet, you know. So it just, you know, it's one of those things where it's like know your grower is almost more important than know your processor, I would say. I guess you could trust your processor that they're getting good quality material and stuff too, but that's why
Yeah.
I prefer single source, I guess.
I actually heard a buddy of mine earlier, and I'm just gonna call him out here in chat. I won't tell you guys who he was unless he points himself out. But he told me for that exact same reason he only buys flour from a dispensary now, and I was like, "Ooh, that just hurts me," you know, because it should be the completely other way around. It
Opposite.
should be the know your grower type deal, because you definitely don't know your grower when you're buying from a dispensary.
Support
You're
local.
just trusting that what they tell you is true. You know,
It's-
and what hoops they did or didn't have to jump through to get, you know.
But it also
This
feels
is
like a
going-
slap in the face, though, doesn't it? When they're like, "Oh, I'm shopping over here," when you do,
Fuck yeah, it does.
you're over
Yeah.
here putting in all your work and your
Yeah,
hopes
Get
and
these
dreams.
$50 ounces.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. That aside, you know, I'm not even worried about that. But yeah, no, they just definitely, you know, essentially saying that they, and I think what they were saying is that they trusted the commercial market more than they trusted the black that was coming in, the black market that was coming in, rather than just having it as a home grower next door, your buddy. That's a completely different thing, you know. So I think that's the line in which,
not to get like a conspiracy on you or whatever, but I think this is a coordinated marketing campaign coming down from, if not just the state governments, maybe a large corporate lobby. Because if we Google it right now and look up, I don't know, type in the correct keywords about this kind of stuff, you're going to see a lot of articles being pushed about how the legal stuff is lab tested, and so we know it's safe and clean, and we want to stay away from this dirty black market because it's untested and there's potentially a lot of poison and yada yada yada. And it's like,
in this case,
there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
You know, those are checks and balances and regulations, and that's what they're there for. But that doesn't immediately mean anyone outside of that is completely wrong and doing it poorly. Like, it's not a apples and oranges thing. It's a zero-sum game, you know. Hell yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that's, in this case, they were referring to the infestation of fentanyl into the
right. And it's just like, what are we doing, man? Like, got some milk chucky, huh?
You know what time it is?
I miss, you know, here's the thing right here now. I always loved taking my caps, right? I love taking my caps. But like right now, I'm jealous of y'all. I'm jealous of both of y'all having edibles, because that would be the shit. So I love my caps because they're just convenient, and they're you know, they're convenient as fuck, just being able to swallow caps. But I don't have no chocolate around me right now, and that makes me
I know, I want some chocolate too.
It's
so good.
I forgot I had those until you busted them out.
It's like straight flour too. It's so yummy.
You know, it makes me think that when you guys were talking about the BHO and the low price and people just price shopping, you know, I there potentially would be better if there was more of a tiered product, more than there even is now. You know, because there are things that people can do in the commercial market to tier their product.
Yeah,
and it's legitimately, and it's legitimate, but there's probably steps that we could take to make inevitably the lower the price, the lower the quality. Just is what it is. And not necessarily the lower the quality as in the more additives, the more this and the more that. It just might be the less, not as many terps, not as many cannabinoids, maybe not as much, you know, THC, THCA, depending on how it's pressed.
Yeah, I feel like the restrictions aren't allowing them to get better.
No, you can definitely.
It's more
you
investors.
You can put it on the shelves. It's just, I feel like if somebody were to walk into a dispensary and say that they, you know, see and have a little bit of knowledge of the cheap stuff, I guess, I think more would spend the $20 on the rosin than they would the $10 on the unfortunate, what we know is less quality BHO.
They have it for flour. They don't really have it for concentrates.
Agreed.
They go and buy shake.
But they
right?
do on
Or
the
that.
on the BHO market, but they don't admit it. You know, and I think that's that's more back to education again. You know,
yeah, it's either good or bad. They don't
know why Fagroli's is more expensive than this fucking $10 gram over here. You know,
but
I don't know how much.
No one's going to voluntarily label their stuff
can't
as
do
worse either.
Right.
Sorry, say that again, Superior.
No one's going to voluntarily label their stuff as worse. as whatever the
Right.
lower tier ends up being.
It's a fine line
unless it
to
goes on
cross,
sale.
you know, by saying
Yeah.
it's budget, but it's not worse. It's, you know, it's
Yeah.
now we're playing with words and
We
whatnot.
They'll call
should
it
just be
house brand,
openly
you know.
friendly with our words, budget
But
friendly.
here's the I've had jars that I've had laying around that I've had in the fridge and whatnot that I've labeled as food grade, you know, that I would smoke. You know, so right there is a product that could be put on the shelf at a dispensary, you know, commercially made, that could be $15. So now you got a gram where you're walking in, you got a gram of rosin for 10, 15 bucks.
Well, we need to go back to the categories of having, you know, mids, top shelf,
Right.
exotic, fucking low grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to have those tiers, and not only just for flour, but for concentrates too. Like, and this should be available. Like, you're right. You're saying,
But that's, I mean, I feel like that's, I guess
because that
you
would
as a
put you
grower-
better on a pedestal, technically. You know, that would
I
get you
agree.
way up, way on
Dude,
the
listen,
fucking
everyone
exotic
that
shelf.
has a product in fucking Walmart wants the, you know, the prime shelf space, right? They don't want to be on the bottom unless they're at the cereal aisle with the kids, you know, like that's all merchandising or whatever. But as a grower and processor, it's a little bit harder, I would say. I mean, it's easier, but also can be more destructive. Let's put it that way. It's easier, but more destructive to create tiers with your brand because there's a sense of or potential for cannibalization there, right? So, like for my particular case, I really just focus on the craft, the quality, the connoisseur, whatever you want to call it, right? I think that's more up to like the retailer or the broker to provide those tiers, right? They have to
It is.
be going and looking for and seeking out and be willing to pay for that top tier while also having this budget option and also just having a plethora of mids or whatever you want to call it, you know,
It's your
based
brand.
on their customers, you know.
Yeah, your brand is what you're putting out, and that's what they should put on the shelf. Frigroli is fucking exotic to me, top shelf, can't get any better, right? And that's the brand. So that's what I've got to bring in order to say I've got something on my top shelf. If it's anything underneath that, it's got to be the mids or whatever else, whoever else, you know, craft, or not even craft, but just big MSO brand shit. And that's basically how it should be, you know, and there should just be the retailer, as you said, you know, if you're selling Louis Vuitton or if you're selling Skechers, there's a difference in price, right? You kind of got to know what you're shopping for. And but if you have something for all those people that come into your store, then everybody will shop with you. And maybe that's the best part about that, right? If you have something for everybody, then you can bring everybody in. But if you don't have something for everybody, then not everybody can shop with you. Then you're looked at as a certain retailer, right? You're only carrying this or that. If you don't have a higher end, then you're only carrying lower end. If you only have, you know, and vice versa.
Dude, I mean, in Michigan, that depends on the market you're in too. You know, like the Flint market versus the Ann Arbor market. I talk about that a lot. Like big price differences, big, you know, of what people are willing to pay, the different types of customers. It is what it is, you know. And so it depends on the market you're in. You might own dispos in both, and you might be pushing. You're probably going to very quickly find out what product you need to push in certain areas. So that's clearly a market issue, but. Man, it's just like I don't know. I guess everyone just has to like find their lane, right, and like just go hard in it and like try to produce either the top quality product if that's what you're going for, or the most of the budget, you know, and try to take that market share. I don't know. It's just I obviously can't compete with like any of these MSOs or anything, so I'm pretty certain I found my lane. I'm gonna stick to it, you know.
Not a
Just
bad
like
idea.
every business, though.
It's true, man. Yeah,
It doesn't matter what business you're in, you're always competing against another major company that's doing the same shit you're doing.
And in the end, it doesn't feel like it right now. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, guys. But in the end, competition does make everything better, and
it finds a level.
Do
Yeah,
you feel like your trophies help?
I mean, that's why they're there.
I'm saying they're kind of nice, dude.
I've traveled to a lot of events without those trophies in the last year.
I don't have a high times trophy, but I'm a trophy winner as well.
Hell yeah, dude.
From
That
my-
420 golf club. I got one of them.
from my yes, sir. Let's go.
Cheers,
Yes,
bro.
sir. Cheers. Yeah, buddy.
I don't enter a lot of cups, man. We don't have a hell of a lot of cups here in Colorado. A couple cups that I have entered, I've got some little coins and stuff. They weren't big
I got
big
little ones.
competitions and what, but
Look, I got little ones too. All right.
yeah, there you go. There you
I was
go.
just looking for a little validation. After that, I was like, I knew what the fuck I was doing. I ain't really anymore.
Dude, it's nice. It's nice. And it's like for years, I'm like, I'm not doing competitions. It's a waste of money. I don't need to do it. And then a sponsor came along and said,
Sure.
hey, well, why don't we both put our names on it? I know what you got. I'm willing to pay for it. Like, let's just do it. Well, that's what happened. We started entering cups, and that's what happened. So it kind of becomes I can see how it can become addicting really quick, but I mean, there hasn't been any High Times Cups since that one, so there wasn't a whole lot to do since. I know there's probably more competitions out in Colorado, I imagine, than there are out here.
There are now, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But do you feel like anything gets bigger than that name used to ring so many bells?
The High Times Cannabis
High
Cup.
Times Cannabis Cup? No,
Yeah.
there's no bigger award in the world in cannabis still.
No, agreed. They're
There will
starting
be
to
one day.
become there's starting to become some bigger names. In the specifically me, I know
There you go,
because I'm
man.
in it.
Oh,
There he is.
I've never seen this photo.
I was there.
that's so cool.
Dude, you gotta send these my way, bro. I
I
actually
got about
just
10
hit up.
from when you accepted it.
Dude, please send them to me if you don't mind.
That's so
I had no
cool.
idea those existed. Jesse
badass.
Fat, shout out Jesse Fats. I hope I'm saying that word or his last name correctly. FAATZ, I
That's
think,
so cool.
on Instagram. He was the High Times Cannabis Cup photographer for years and years, and he sent me a couple photos from that day, and I was very appreciative. And I hit him up recently because I can't find those photos, or at least the digital copies. And so I think he sent them to me on Instagram. And of course, over the years you lose Instagram profiles.
Yeah.
So you just lose stuff. But I hit him up recently. I hope Red and Becca, if you're still in chat, it's maybe someone from MBGS Spartan. What's that bluegrass band or whatever that everyone's so hard about now? Like, oh, please, someone help me. They'll get to it in chat. But he is, I guess I could
Billy
probably just look it up on
Strings.
Instagram. Yeah, Billy Strings. He's now the tour photographer for Billy Strings. I'm like, this dude ain't got no time for me anymore.
Right.
He's crushing it. He's just still crushing it. But I thought that was super cool because everyone and like our community has been talking about Billy Strings, going to these Billy Strings concerts for the last year. And he was even at the local DTE or whatever that
He played up
business
here
called, Pine
6-7
Downs.
years ago at the little bar that you went to.
Oh,
with
up
me.
there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
No,
awesome.
there's some people here in town that are good friends with him.
Nice. Okay. But yeah, so he's touring. He's huge artist and all this stuff. And this photographer I know from the High Times days is now his tour photographer. So I thought that was really cool. But
That's funny.
shout out Jesse. Hopefully you get back to me. I'd love to.
I was
see
there
some of
that
those
year with
photographs.
a lighting company. We were walking around.
Oh no
Wife
shit.
and and then the lighting rep, and they no longer are in LED lighting game. They come and go pretty quick, man.
Sometimes,
Lighting companies are.
especially in the early days.
Yeah. Shout out GML, man. He's still there. He's crushing it and just continuing to innovate. He released some new bars lately. I don't know if Spartan can tell us about them. We'll have to have him back on.
I forgot what I was saying once you showed that picture. It was just
I
hilarious.
apologize.
For the
Tangents.
first 30, 45 seconds, I was trying to think very hardly, but then I realized
I literally have a notepad up on my second monitor because I will not remember shit. That's short-term memory loss, guys. It's a side effect of the medication.
bro, it really is.
My body's telling me that the edible I just ate is somewhat starting to have some.
What is your
Single.
so I've noticed more so very recently that people have different limits. So like the buddy I've talked about, Heady Boy, who's been on we've had him on here to stream before. We can smoke all day long, both of us back and forth, no big deal. But myself, I can take a good 1,000-1,200 milligrams and be okay, and he can't even take 10 milligrams much anymore. So there's seems to be a big difference, and obviously there's a tolerance level in there, whatnot. But what is your dosage, whether it be typical or high or whatnot of edibles?
I mean, so it just depends on what I'm trying to do.
Yep, agreed.
We're trying to party, trying to go hard. Just give me a 3,000 bar.
So if you'll go 3,000.
Yeah, why not? I got the energy.
I'll probably go to sleep if I got 3,000.
But
yeah, if I'm drinking a bunch of.
But look, it depends on the time of day, right? If I do that shit right now, I'll go right to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's just no way. My
and
body.
We'll see you on Monday.
I normally, I don't know if you guys know, but I wake up at 3 a.m. every day.
I saw that this morning. Was watching your stories. Was like
every day, bro. He posts
day.
that 4:20 a.m. post every single day.
Just to show you guys see it. I'm on my shit. I'm about it. I'm about being on time. And it's about taking a timely dab too. I gotta time that dab out perfectly every fucking day so that bitch is ready to go by 4:20.
That is so. That's some good discipline, man.
It's these little things, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I mean, I could take a lot of, my tolerance is pretty high, but at night it gets harder to take more than normal. I mean, I could feel something off of 100 milligrams though. I could feel something off of 20 milligrams. I could feel something off maybe 10, but probably not. It probably won't do anything. Like, it's not gonna be like.
You might just be like, oh yeah, I did take an edible.
I could go to the gym off of probably anything under 50, because anything over 100 to me is like, I don't want to work out on that shit. I just want to like do other work. Like, I don't like being too muscular high at the gym with the edible. So I can't take very high doses on edibles at the gym.
Love it. It puts me in this like.
But like just dabbing, I can dab before, through, during.
See, I can't dab because of the lungs when I go to work out. So I'll take 300-400, 800 milligrams before I go to the gym.
My question would be, how is your cardio?
Well, with the lungs, it's tough, but with the edibles, no problem at all. No problem at all. But if I take a dab, I really got to watch out when I dab versus when I do my cardio. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't, because I have asthma as well. So, dabbing for me is stupid anyways. But
surprised it doesn't help.
Well, it does have its, what do they call it? The decongestion, not the decongestion, expectorant value to it,
bronchial dilator.
Right, yeah, the dial. But no, not all the time, especially when I take certain dabs.
Terpy dabs.
There's different variables of
half-gram terpy dabs. Yeah,
there's different variables of asthma, because I used to have asthma when I was younger. So I used to be a heavier guy. My heaviest point was 300 pounds.
Oh, damn.
And so, yeah, I used to have asthma at one point, but I do like extreme, high intensity cardio. I'm like boxing and things like that. And I feel like I don't have those issues anymore because I pushed my lungs to a place where they are forced to just be fucking great.
I wish I could do that, I guess.
I guess there's just different variables of asthma.
I was gonna say there's different types of asthma too, right? Like my brother had
types for sure.
Oh, I can't remember the type of asthma, but it was just like if he's going hard, then he starts experiencing issues. So it's like he's a limit to how hard he can go. Otherwise, he's gonna start experiencing those asthma symptoms, right? It's like, that sucks. You know what I mean? But it's better than, I guess, just having it all the time where you're just constantly affected by anything,
Yeah, that's generally what mine is. Like I said, if I exercise really hard, or when I'm up in the hills, pull out 3 elk instead of 1, or shout out to this year elk hunting, or take a really big dab. Generally, the inhaler's up here, but generally I don't have to hit it too much unless I take a dab of something that's.
Have you been taking your inhaler since you were a kid?
Yeah. My grandmother fucking smoked cigarettes in the house since I was 8 years old.
because I
They
guess
didn't know any difference back then. They didn't
I'm
know
assuming I grew out of mine and I stopped taking the inhaler at some point, and so maybe I don't know if that's a thing. You either grow out of it or you adapt out of it. I don't know how that really works.
no idea.
You know
No
what I'm
idea.
saying?
But yeah, but back to like what I was saying, man. With edibles, I can way go to the gym on like 700-800 milligrams and just
I should try it.
I don't think I could
You
do
lift heavy
lifting.
though?
Yeah, I could
That's-
just
yeah.
I could do cardio for hours.
No.
Yeah, I could do
smoking,
cardio,
but-
but I cannot do
Cardio-
heavy
I'm the same
lifting.
boat.
bro.
Cardio, you really got to push yourself into it. It's like once you get to that 10-minute mark, then you're like, all right, let's go. But with the heavy lifting and whatnot, yeah, absolutely.
Not
No, see, I think weed makes 1 minute feel the same as 10 minute, feel the same as 30 minute, feel the same as 2 hours. Like it's just like I don't know, I'm on a bike ride, you know, like
Depending on-
doing
yeah,
cardio,
depending-
right?
Yeah, you get
But
to
like
lift
weightlifting,
an
it's
album.
like I got
drag,
275
dude. Yeah,
pounds. Come on,
dude.
please help.
3 fucking 100-pound squat,
No, I just-
no sir.
It's all about the zone to me when I get. We even talk about
I
it
guess
when
I'll
I'm at
try
work.
it. Shit.
Once I start working, I can't there's no slowed.
You know what it
slowing
is?
down
I'm
speed.
picky on my fuel before the gym.
I suppose.
And yeah, I'm very picky.
Fire in,
on my
fire out,
fuel.
bro.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, I don't want to put a piece of chocolate in.
I know.
No,
Well,
that's why I like.
sugar.
That's what I was saying, bro.
And I'd have to take a shit ton of chocolate to fucking
I
get.
mean, it's what is it? 5 milligrams per gram of chocolate or something? It's not, or 10 or 10 to 1 or something. I don't know. It's
One
like
of these caps is
What is it?
300,
100?
350 milligrams.
I'd have to take like 5 of these bags.
yeah, it's
I know, right? How
That's
much?
a lot of
how much
that's
is
a whole
this thing?
chocolate bar.
Yeah,
like a whole big ass chocolate bar.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. If this was a little bit more, if you had more if I had it more concentrated, which I do, I got some other edibles.
No,
I could try.
Pedro's right. I think the capsule, like that type, that delivery method, maybe like 30 minutes before you land at the gym would be.
Yeah, that would definitely probably be. I guess it's how I would have to consume it.
Those
Professor, do you remember the first time you ever smoked weed, and can you share that with us?
First time I ever smoked weed was in college. Oh boy, this motherfucker tricked me, dude.
Uh-oh.
So there's a bunch of guys downstairs. I was at Southern Illinois, and I was really against smoking and I was one of those dare kids, you know what I'm saying? And so like I just was like, man, smoking's not good for you. I seen a buddy of mine smoking, and then like one of the guys on the floor was like, man, I ain't never done it before either. We should try it together. And he was cool as fuck, man. You know, he you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, being around guys for me is something important. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a dad, so like when you find people who are like brothers and shit, you like really kind of latch on, especially when you're away at college. And this dude to me was like one of those guys who I was like, you know, really trying to trust. Fucker. Still trust him to this day, Rodney. Shout out to Rodney. But he fucking he took me downstairs, and there were some guys down there smoking, and one of the guys was from school, blah blah blah. Long story short, I started smoking with them at that moment, and I remember inhaling the weed, and the first thing I remember is the sound of my voice changed. And I could hear myself sound different. And then not long after that, my tongue went completely numb, like as if it was gone. Like I couldn't feel it. Like it was not even in my mouth anymore. I was like, this is crazy. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then I remember going upstairs to one of the homies' rooms. He had all these snacks, man. He put on fucking like Tales from the Crypt and shit. And we were just fucking like chilling. And I was just in like this really good state. And I started like having all these like revelations on like how I was thinking and like appreciating life. And I was looking outside and I was looking at the trees and I was like, damn, you know, I really appreciate those trees right now. Like this is something small. Like, you know, I just really, and it just started changing my whole perspective on life quickly. Like I just was like all in my head, and I was just, the thoughts just came fast, and I was just like, whoa, I like this. This is nice. Like, and I started appreciating myself, and I was starting to get out of like a dark place. I was in a dark place. and it started to bring me out of that shit. And from then on, man, I just started, you know, I told myself at first, I was like, you know, I'm not going to do this. I'm only going to do it with other people. I'm never going to buy weed. I'm never going to buy it. I'm just going to smoke with the people who offer it to me. That shit lasted probably 3 days into the week. And I was looking
Quickest
for
convert ever.
I was looking for a guy on campus who could sell some shit, and then next thing I knew,
you were the guy.
well, not for a while. I had
Okay.
Not
actually
for a
no, you're
while.
right. I was the guy. Holy shit. I went to the fucking guy from Miami. I got the Miami mids. That shit was super fire. I bought it for super cheap and was able to sell it for like $5 or $10
Well, yeah,
a
that is
bag.
the guy. You're
And
definitely the
oh
guy.
my god, it got us high for like 4 hours. And like that was like the first half of the semester, and so that was really cool. And then this one dude introduced me to the hydro the second half of semester. That shit changed my life again. And I was like, oh shit, there's different types of
Right.
weed. Like
Right.
it looks like this green, like versus what I was selling. This other shit got me high for 4 hours. How high can this shit get me? And so I was hooked, man. It just like from then on, it just became like a race to find the best shit, the best high, the best taste, and just.
So speaking of taste, you talked a lot about like the effects and stuff, but what is your favorite flavor profile?
You mean like terpene profile? Like
Yeah.
lemonine?
No, not like the I mean, if you got the
Oh.
terpene itself, I don't know too many people
Lemonine,
that know.
limeine, lemonine.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. D something.
I'm very much into my citrus strains.
Okay.
Very much a sativa smoker, only because I like to smoke and be productive. I do like to smoke at the end of the day and chill. Don't get me wrong, I like my gassy strains, my GMOs and shit like that. I love GMO. But I'm a sucker for flavor. I'm a sucker for, you know, I'm used to be a fat kid, right? So you know, I want something
You
that
like your sweets? Is that what you're saying?
I like stuff that gives me
Guilty.
sensational flavors on my tongue a lot. So that's really what it's also about for me too, right? The dabs provide a sensation and a flavor as soon as I smoke, and I don't have to go smoke. I don't have to go eat all this well, if you have control and discipline, you don't have to go eat all this bullshit, right? But it takes away from me needing to go have candy all the time, right? My dabs are my candy, right? I'm literally getting high of physical stimulation and tasting something. Those two things are huge in the world of people.
I mean, why do we light candles? You know what I
Smell.
mean? It's the
Scent.
smell, right? And that's like, it used to be light, I guess, but now it's the smell. And there's a lot of different things, wax melts and all these different things that we do for the smell. If you guys scroll back about 40 minutes in this video, going about, I don't know, 70 minutes in, 75 minutes in, somewhere around, maybe it's like 45 minutes in. I don't know. Scrub it. You'll find it. Rewatch it. You're going to see Professor open a jar of my extract and he smells it. And he does this little dance that my wife does when she's getting some delicious food. You know, it's that food dance. And it's that flavor, man. And you said it's something about the physical experience of getting high and the flavor and the, you know, all that. But before you even put that in your bowl, man, just smelling that good, there's that like is that itself is an experience. Just experiencing those aromas, you know. So then to put it on the tongue and in the lungs and then experience the effects of it, it's like it all comes together. Hey man, we're gonna wrap this up here. Please take us out with this dab that you're about to do. But before you rip your lungs apart, tell us where we can find you on all the socials, any events you got coming up, anything else you want to promote. Just get at it.
Yeah, man, you can find me on Professor Dabs on Instagram, with the Z at the end of the name, just because of all the accounts that we've had to lose in the past with
Feel that,
you know, the bullshit. But on YouTube, the Professor Dab, same thing. Facebook. My real name is Corey, if you didn't know that, but everybody knows me as Professor. So. Do I have any new events coming up? Not really, man. What I'll be doing is just trying to get back more into the podcasting a little bit more and just, you know, trying to get the education back out there. Right now I'm doing a lot of stuff in the gym, training, boxing, doing a lot of personal training and coaching, stuff like that, trying to do stuff on the health side and also be a health coach in the cannabis industry as well. So I'm also building that portfolio as well as trying to maintain the cannabis side of things as well. So
Dude,
there's
I
so
wanted
many
to
events
spend so much more time on all that health and fitness stuff. We are going to have you back because I think that
Right.
relates a lot to the cannabis side of things.
for sure.
One more thing. You brought up Dare. Can you prove it, bro?
Oh,
Can you even prove you graduated from Dare?
I can't. I can't.
Pedro,
I-
Superior Buds, you got anything for us before we check out?
Yeah, stay smiling. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Take
man.
care, everybody.
Cheers,
Enjoy.
guys. Every Friday night,
Forgot my
Saturday
phone.
morning at this point. Until
got
next
my
time.
marble on the other desk for this damn banger. Shit.
All right, we're not gonna kill it. We're gonna watch him take this dab without his marble. Crush it.
Finger it. Finger it. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've done
just
that before. You just take the
Dutch
jar.
boys.
I usually take the jar.
How much of a man are you?
Hell yeah.